Say something for me.
Check 1 2, check 1 2. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. Yeah, I know that's kind of how I do it.
I love it. It's beautiful. It is beautiful.
So
All right, Jeremy Johnson.
cool.
So you're a judo and black belt, or
I'm
a black belt in judo?
Yep. I'm a black belt in judo and a black belt in Okinawan Shorin karate.
Okay. Yeah, I saw. I think it was a picture you were with. I think Luigi,
Uh huh.
and I saw you both had black belts. So I wasn't sure.
No, I'm a black belt in judo. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay. What are you in jujitsu?
I am a white belt. No stripes, no nothing. Don't claim anything. I've been training in it for a lot of years, but it's been really kind of an on and off kind of thing. So I do a lot of it with Nick Sanders now.
Yeah.
And that's been great. But I kind of work it in wherever my schedule, because I do still teach judo on occasion too. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
it's been fun.
Yeah. So it's interesting to like learn this about you because, like we said just a second ago, all of our interactions were. I mean, you're like one of the lead guys at Shamrock. You do so many different things when you're there, but just kind of always interacting with you in that context,
Hmm.
and then start learning like, oh man, you train at the Hit Squad, and then you have all this background in martial arts. So it's cool to learn that about you. How long have you been training at the Hit Squad?
So I started training at the Hit Squad about a week before Matt Hughes sold it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I got there right in there in the time that Matt was leaving. New management was coming in. So I trained there for a lot of years. And then I just kind of, at one point in time, I took over as doing some coaching kind of things.
Yeah.
Got my black belt there under a gentleman named George Stanich, who is a 7th-degree black belt and trained
Yeah.
multiple world champions, and actually was Ronda Rousey's mom's coach for a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
Nice.
I'm in that lineage of
That's dope.
judo. So yeah,
Yeah. Judo's a tough one. I don't like to get thrown.
nobody does. Nobody does.
And there's always that constant just up and down, just banging on the mats. But I mean, you learn how to break fall and whatnot.
Oh yeah,
But still.
it takes a lot out of your body. I mean, I've got bad shoulders. My left knee has been torn apart. It has been a long road, but
Yeah.
I still do it at least once a week, if not twice. So yeah, I mean, I'm still out there taking falls with the kids and
Yeah.
teaching the whole bit. So, and I've passed it along to my kids. My daughter's a brown belt in judo.
Oh, nice.
My son is he does judo and Brazilian jiu-jitsu both. So
Yeah.
but yeah, my daughter actually teaches now at the Hit Squad also.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoy that. Both my kids do jujitsu. They're younger. They are 8 and 10.
Mm.
So my son, he's the older one. He's 10. And I just introduced him to jujitsu first because like my real scheme is to get him into wrestling.
Nice.
I think wrestling is more competitive than jujitsu. From like just the very get go, like the whole jujitsu or the Brazilian culture is pretty laid back.
Yes.
But wrestling is not that.
No, not at all. And yeah, wrestling is, I mean, it's a great base to go into anything else,
Yeah.
any other kind of sport. So
Yeah, and I'm sure you've seen that time and time again, just watching different fights and stuff. Like the wrestler usually has an advantage, or it's probably like the strongest base in MMA, wouldn't you say?
oh yeah, I think wrestling is definitely the biggest base in MMA, and it comes down to just being able to control the hips and control positions.
Yeah.
So the way that I watch a fight, whenever I call it like that, is I keep the action kind of moving along, and then my color commentator does some of the, more of the technical intricacies of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there you can see it. You can see how wrestlers are able to maintain head positions and move, play the angles, and use their hips to move things along, follow their opponents. So it kind of nullifies some of the wrestling that a jiu-jitsu guy would have off of his back, just because
Yeah.
it's so heavy and doesn't let you move. I mean,
Right.
you've been there,
Yeah. I mean, that type of pressure, it's just a different pressure for
Right.
sure. So, have you always, I guess, no, not have you always, when did you first get into martial arts? Like, were you a kid and started karate? Is that?
So I got into martial arts at 10 years old. Basically it was the only sport, quote unquote, that my parents would really let me do.
Oh, yeah.
My parents were kind of hippies and didn't believe in like team things and all that other kind of stuff. So I'm like, well, can I do this? And so that's kind of how I ended up there. And I did it for a lot of years. It took me I started when I was 10 years old. Did it for a long time. Got my black belt in Okinawan Shorin karate
Yeah.
about 9 years ago.
Okay.
So 10 years ago right now, I guess it is. But yeah, so did that. I've always messed with other martial arts, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, like you said. I have trained with some Aikido guys, and
Yeah.
then when I found Judo, it was that kind of just took over everything. And so that's been really kind of my passion for the last, 10 years. So
You do you also do like Muay Thai?
I do. I've done some striking, that kind of thing. I know a lot of people have seen me out there holding pads for
Yeah.
guys, and it's just one of those. I've done a lot of boxing as
Okay.
far as kickboxing and things like that as a younger guy.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm getting old, so it's harder and harder to bounce back. So
Yeah, that recovery definitely takes longer, like once you're a little bit older.
yeah, and guys, a lot of people don't realize that I am 44 years old. So I mean, they have a
I
lot
had
of people don't know that.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 31, and I mean, I would have only guessed that you're probably like 5 years older than me.
Yeah,
Like not.
I get that one a lot, which is nice, but no, I'm 44, so age is creeping up on me.
Do you do you take any like natural like testosterone boosters or anything?
No, I do some CBD oil to make sure that I can still move.
Yeah.
But no, haven't really ever done the testosterone booster type stuff.
Yeah, yeah, CBD is great. I
Yeah.
love that, dude. I use Jumbo Superfoods. I use their Muscle Bomb.
hmm
I put it on my fingers after jujitsu, just put it on my muscles after training, and it makes me feel like 1,000 times better.
Yeah, I dig it. It's a great thing, and I'm glad that it's finally available to people.
Yeah, yeah. I told myself that like once I get to a certain age, I think it's past. I have to look at the exact number, but it's like past like 35 when you're a male, your testosterone levels start
hmm
to gradually decrease over just over the rest of your life. So I definitely decided, I don't know, probably like 10 years ago, that once I get to that age,
Yeah,
I'm definitely going to take some sort of natural testosterone booster.
sure.
I don't know what it is yet, but I don't want to do like actual. I don't want to do like an actual steroid, but there's some like herbs and roots and different things
Oh yeah, I
that
mean,
you can take to kind of help with that production
yeah, if
early
you can
on.
find a good wild yam root, I know Joe Rogan talks about it all the time. That's the big one that's out there. So
Yeah, yeah. So that's interesting, dude. So for the folks listening, you're like an MMA expert to for
I
real.
don't know about that,
Well,
but
here's the thing. Okay, so you're a TV personality, right? I don't want to fuck this up, but you have that MMA show,
uh-huh.
and you do color comment or not color commenting. What is it?
So I'm the play-by-play analyst. Yeah.
Play-by-play analyst for Shamrock FC,
hmm
and then you also do the show ESPN Radio.
Uh-huh.
Down goes Frazier.
Yeah.
Right. So you're deep in the scene, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's talk
I
about
do
that.
I do a lot. I started doing MMA media, oh God, a lot of years ago, and it was just I had a little bit of a background in television, so I had done a couple of reality shows in my
Yeah, I
time.
wanted to ask you about those.
So yeah, I've done a few, and then I did radio for a while too. So I was on 97.1 Talk for a while.
Okay.
Back in its infancy when it first started. So I've been around media and entertainment for a long time.
Okay.
But I started with an internet-based radio show called Indio Radio that was ran by Kane, who was of MS Communications. He's Dana Lash's executive producer for her show. He owned it. He was here in St. Louis for a long time.
Okay.
And then they did a morning show on there that was him and John Lanius, who used to be on 105.7 The Point, which was Joe and John the Nocturnal Emission.
All right.
And so they were good buddies of mine, and they kind of brought me along, and I did some background things and did some production and did some on-air things, and we always ended up talking about fighting. And they were like, man, you really should do your own show. And so that's kind of how that MMA show was born. And I did that for a lot of years, and it became really kind of my stepping stone into knowing, getting to know people in the business, getting to know some of the bigger names because they were guests. And, I've had everyone from Ronda Rousey to Stitch Duran on my show.
Yeah.
And so it's been a lot with that. And now it's kind of nice going into ESPN that I'm using those contacts to bring in
Yeah.
other people, bigger names. So like, we've had TJ Dillashaw on right before his fight. We actually had Tommy Toehold on, the guy who created Tommy
That's
Toehold.
awesome.
So yeah, at one point in time, Tommy Toehold was actually my answering on my cell phone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did it for me. It was pretty funny. So.
That is hilarious. hilarious. Yeah, those cartoons are hilarious.
Oh my God. But yeah, so that's kind of how I got into the business of it. I was then started coaching fighters at the Hit Squad, just helping out. Ended up cornering a few fights, did some things there for Shamrock, and was actually working then as a cut man for him.
Oh, so you started as a cut man.
I started as a cut man, yeah, and that's how I actually got my foot into the door of Shamrock, and I did it for a couple of years, and one night it was one of the big shows. It was their second pay-per-view, and it was the original guy who had my position, Chad, and Kevin Engel, and I was the cut man along with Craig Nasello. And so literally they go, hey, we need some announcements made. When they handed me a microphone, they go, would you do this? I'm like, yeah, sure. And I did it. And basically Jesse Finney called me, and then he goes, so what do you want to do? I said, well, I kind of want to be Mike Goldberg. I said, that's what I really want to do.
Yeah.
A couple weeks later, he sent me a message. He goes, so are you ready to be Mike Goldberg? And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, I'm going to give you your shot.
Nice.
And I haven't missed a Shamrock event since.
Man, how long ago was that?
It was almost 4 years ago.
Man, yeah. I can't think of I feel like every time I'm at an event, like.
Yeah, no, literally I have never missed one.
Yeah.
I have had to send different coaches with my daughter to go compete around the country with judo. But yeah, I've never missed one.
Yeah. And so that's quite the feat, especially considering. So it was like 2 weeks ago. Was the show 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a shit ton of snow out there.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder how many people were wrecked trying to get to the show.
It took me 5 hours to get home from weigh-ins.
Oh man.
That night, yeah, it was crazy. So.
Yeah, that's quite the drive. Yeah, so you've just grown with the organization as it's expanding. So right now it's in St. Louis and Kansas City.
Right.
And from my understanding, it's probably going to expand even further than that. So
that is the big rumor that I keep hearing.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Yeah. So it's exciting to see what happens with that, man.
Yeah.
So did you go to school for communications or
not in the least?
So how did you get into this biz, man? Like,
it's just one of those that I kind of was in the right place at the right time. I was a musician for a long time, so I had a pretty decent voice, and I kind of knew how to control it and knew how to use it.
Yeah.
I actually was a touring musician at one point in time.
Really? What do you play?
Guitar, bass, drums, mandolin, piano. I kind of did it all. I was a studio player.
Okay.
So if somebody needed a date in Nashville, I would go drive down and play down there. I would go to North Carolina and play and things like that. So I had a musical background more than anything, but I knew how to control my voice, and that's kind of what gave me the way to go with it. So, and it's just kind of built from there. Really, I've done a bunch of things in the business, and it just kind of all led up to where I am now. So,
yeah,
between like I said, doing radio on 97.1 for a bit to some of the reality TV shows that I did. It's just kind of all culminated into this now, and this is really my passion. Combat sport is my passion. So I literally, you couldn't tell me who's going to play in the Super Bowl. I don't know anything about baseball, but I can tell you mixed martial arts stuff like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That some opportunities arose, and you put yourself in the right position to take advantage of them.
Yeah, I've been one of those kind of people who I will tell you, yes, I can do it before I ever know how to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of, I'll figure it out and we'll make it happen.
Yeah,
so
figure it out, man.
I've never been one to back away from a challenge. So
yeah, I never. I'm that same way. I dive headfirst into everything.
Right.
I never worry about fucking up. I just feel like I probably will somewhere along the way, and it just is what it is.
Absolutely. I mean, you're gonna fail in life, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
You've got to fail to know what winning is all about.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. 100%. It's I don't know if I was reading it or what, but basically, failure it's not something to be avoided, but it's a part of the process.
Absolutely.
So if you try to avoid that, you're trying to avoid success, really.
Yeah. It's one of the. I mean, look at guys who have they've never seen defeat in a fight.
Yeah.
Do they really know what they're made of until that happens?
Yeah.
And I think it's a huge learning experience. They learn that, okay, maybe I need to do more. I need to do this. I need to focus here. And that's what failing in certain aspects can do. As long as you don't let it get you down, you can learn from it and you can move forward.
Right. Right. Are there any like failures that stick out to you in the past that was just like, man, like I thought that was going to be it?
Oh, I mean, I've had a few, and I mean, I own a couple of businesses besides being in the fight business,
Right.
and so yeah, I mean, I've
You're full on entrepreneur, man.
oh, I lost $1 million in real estate back in
Really?
2008. Oh
Oh
yeah, man. I mean,
shit.
so no, I know what failure's about, and I know that you can come back from it. So,
Yeah.
it's one of those that you got to take it with what it is,
Yeah.
and as long as you can look past your mistakes and don't live in the past, you can come through it.
Yeah, 100%. I'm always trying to learn. I feel like if you stop learning, I mean, you're losing at that point.
Absolutely.
So one of the common themes that I've noticed amongst just like really successful people is that they're not. I've heard this probably come out of Andy Frizella's mouth or some people that he knows. I don't know how many times, but he's like, I could lose everything fucking tomorrow, and I don't care. Like I'll just rebuild it all.
Right.
Yeah, like and probably come from huge losses. You know what I mean? Big
Absolutely.
failures.
You know, you never take anything for granted, and it all can go away tomorrow. I have no doubt in my mind. I know that, I love what I do for Shamrock FC. If they came to me tomorrow and go, you know what, Ron Kruk and Pat Miltage are going to be coming in because it's going to push the brand, 100%, let's do it.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to make that work. I understand that. Will that hurt? Absolutely. But it's something that I'll take and then I'll go forward.
Yeah.
If then I move on to a different organization or I move on to more into the media roles of, going to the ESPN thing,
Yeah.
or if I start something brand new, I can do it. And I've done it before. So, yeah, you have to be willing to lose everything and start over. If you're afraid of failure, you'll never make it anywhere.
Right. Yeah. You have to go all in. I was talking to a guy, and he's essentially just always trying to set up safety nets.
Mm.
I feel like you'll never take a leap if you're always trying to set up a safety net.
Right. Yeah. You got to take the leap of faith to make things happen.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So you mentioned your other businesses. What are those?
So believe it or not, I'm actually an IT guy.
Okay.
Which is kind of funny. I own a couple of IT-based businesses.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, whenever you said, do I have a background in broadcasting? No, actually, my background's in mechanical engineering.
Oh.
So, and I just kind of took it to the computer world about 20 years ago, and so.
Dude, you're an oddball for that field.
I really am.
Yeah, your personality is not that at all.
And no one ever would realize that. Yeah, that my business is based around IT stuff. So
Yeah, yeah. I've always gotten like the sense, like when we speak, like you're very intelligent, you're very matter of fact. You're like, let's get to the point, like
Right.
let's get this done. So, but I mean, that's definitely a very like type A personality that you see in IT a lot. You know what I mean? It's like I've called IT people before, and you want to like explain the problem to them, and they're like, just cut the shit and tell me what's wrong. I don't need this roundabout way
Right.
of you trying to figure out what's wrong.
Yeah, and but it's a good lesson in life. If you just get straight to the point, things get done a lot faster.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, communicate clearly. So have you always been an entertainer then?
Pretty much. Yeah, from
You
music.
class clown or anything?
No, I was a really big kind of growing up. I was kind of the nerdy, punky skater boy kind of kid.
Okay.
But I've always been an entertainer. Like I said, I played guitar since I was probably 12 years old.
Yeah.
I played professionally my first gig when I was 17.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's just been ever since. So
Yeah.
I have done tour bus tours. I've done van tours. I've opened for rock acts. I've done crazy things like that. So
Yeah. Does that life get old?
yes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't wish it on anybody.
Yeah, I can remember being a kid and thinking, man, that'd be so cool, living on the bus and seeing all these different cities and
No.
it's not.
No. It's the same thing over and over. You get in, you do it, you leave, you go to the next town.
Right.
And I wouldn't even do big ones. I mean, it would be a weekend here, a weekend there kind of thing. And it becomes such a pain.
Yeah.
And then the business end of it is so bad that it's colossally corrupt. And so.
Yeah. It's hard to be healthy living on the road.
Yes.
Because you can't set up any sort of like routine.
No, and you have to. I mean, you have to be like, especially, I did my last real things that I did was probably 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was so hard. You have to make sure that you drink enough water, make sure that you eat the right foods, because if you don't, it goes so bad so fast that it's hard to come by. And I mean, that's just with anything. If you don't really plan out what you're going to do, no matter what, you end up being a big fat slob, and nobody wants that.
Right.
So
It's almost set up for failure because so biologically we're wired that when you sleep in a new place, you don't sleep as deeply, right? Because it's like a defense mechanism because you need to keep your wits about you. So if you're always in a new spot, like when are you ever like relaxed?
Right. Yeah, and it traveling gets to be like that, and it becomes something you don't want it to be anymore. So
Right. Have you ever done stand up?
No, never done stand-up comedy. I have. I've written a few jokes with people, and it was more just like in like the podcasting world, like if you're gonna have someone on who is funny, you want to do the setups for them, and so like I've had Adam Hunter, who is MMA Roasted.
I'm not familiar with that.
So he has the MMA Roasted podcast. He was on Last Comic Standing.
Okay.
And he's been on my show a couple of times. And so we'd write jokes back and forth, so I knew what the line was to set him up to hit back. So, but I've never done stand-up. It's kind of, I've kicked it around a couple of times, but I've just never made it that far.
Yeah, I've thought about it. I've written a couple jokes, but then I'm just like, I just pussy out.
No, you should do it. I think getting on stage in front of people is the craziest feeling in the world.
It really
is. You've fought on the biggest cards. You've been to the top of the mountain. You've been in Bellator, you've been in all this. Imagine what it's like where it's literally just you under that spotlight instead of you and another guy.
Yeah.
And it's all what you come out with is what people react to.
Yeah, it's totally different, man. Everybody's looking at you. You're speaking. I don't really have too much of an issue with speaking, but I just think about just going up there and just bombing so hard. That shouldn't be a reason to not do it.
Absolutely.
It really shouldn't. I just need to man up and do it.
I think that should be something that we should do is the Adam Meredith Comedy Night. We throw it out there. Do you know how many MMA based in this community would show up to the Funny Bone to watch you do an open mic night?
Oh, that'd be cool. Man, I just need to do it.
I'm in. Let's do it right now.
Just
Come
commit. Just need to commit.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's so many good comedians in this town for sure.
Absolutely.
There's a guy, his name's JC Sabala.
Okay.
He used to train at our gym back in the day doing jiu-jitsu, but man, he opens up for like a lot of the big names. Like when Joey Diaz was here last year, he opened up for them. He opened up for, I think he opened up for Joey Diaz. I might be making that one on. No, he didn't. He opened up for Brendan Schaub when Brendan Schaub came. He's just a super funny dude. I just need to spend more time with comedians, and then maybe I'll get some.
Well, I mean, even Greg Warren, that's from here in St. Louis, great college level wrestling coach, is funny as all get out.
Really?
Professional comedian. Yeah, I mean, has had the specials and the whole bit.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, and you gotta love Brendan Schaub.
Yeah.
I mean, he roasted me so bad it still cracks me up. So.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was a big thing. I was actually on. It wasn't me. Like the video of Scott Etling proposing to his girlfriend went viral on his show, where he slammed me for wearing as he called it, a shitty men's warehouse suit. Which wasn't, but oh yeah, I mean, and it was like I got calls from across the country. My buddy's like, "Did you see you got roasted by Brendan Schaub?" I'm like, "No, but I guess I made it." I'm like, "Perfect, bring it." We're like, "Well, aren't you mad?" I'm like, "Hell no!" People know my Twitter or my Instagram handle was on it. I'm like, "Great, perfect, let's do this."
Yeah, all publicity is good publicity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man, it's just if you had like a weak ego, then that could be a bad thing. But dude, he's a hilarious guy.
Oh, he is. It's fun, and it was funny. I don't care that it was about me. I mean, I've had plenty of stuff said about me. I don't care. It's funny. So it was good.
Yeah, dude, that guy figured it out. He figured out just the smoothest transition from MMA. I mean, you see so many guys who try to stick around too long.
Yeah.
Or just blow all their money, or just whatever the case may be, and it's just not smooth when they leave MMA.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz should have never happened.
Dude, yeah.
But, I guess Chuck needed the money. I don't know. But, you got to have your game plan out. Yeah. And no matter what it is, Tito was still in good shape. Chuck, not so much.
Yeah.
But, then Brendan did great with that. So, I mean, he made just from there to podcasting and done. I mean, it was beautiful. He played that Joe Rogan card really well.
Yeah. Yeah, that was smart. That's like, dude, Joe Rogan's like the Oprah for dudes.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, man. He like if Joe Rogan mentions you or your product or something, like it changes people's lives. I was thinking what was it, Derek Lewis.
Uh-huh.
Whenever he won that fight, I can't remember who he beat.
Well, that's just it. Yeah, I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was right before he fought for the title. Either way, Joe Rogan said he had the best Instagram in the game. I went and checked it out. He had, I don't know, probably like 500,000 followers. He probably gained almost 1 million followers within like the next like 30 to 60 days.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it blew me away.
Yeah, the power of social media influence like that is just insane for somebody like Joe Rogan.
Yeah. So you're deep in the scene though. Who I don't know how to ask this. I don't want to say like who's your favorite person like in
Oh
MMA,
boy.
but you know what I mean. Like you've come across some characters. Like anybody like stick out to you, or you got any interesting stories of just some crazy shit from
You
some of the
know,
people in the scene?
um, well, it's very weird who you.
It's a fine line, right?
It really is because some of them then you can consider like they become your friends,
Right.
and guys like Stitch Duran have become friends of mine.
Yeah.
So talking interesting story. So whenever the whole Reebok deal went down for the UFC and they went to the uniforms and all the cut men got nothing out of the deal, Stitch was one of the big proponents and he got fired from the UFC because of it.
You're right.
So I got crazy and one night on Periscope, I burned my Reebok shoes. And I did it, I talked to Stitch, and I'm like, hey, man, I'm going to do this. He's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's see what it does. I'm a nobody in St. Louis. I made it to Instagram's top tweets of Reebok deal for almost a week.
Really?
Yeah. And so it became like a thing that it really actually kind of backfired on me because I couldn't get press credit into the UFC for almost 2 years afterwards.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they hold grudges, dude.
Oh, but it was so funny because just the amount of people who reached out to me afterwards who were, bigger names in the business or actually watched it.
Yeah.
Because I did it live on Periscope and on Twitter, and I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Like the numbers just kept going and kept going and kept going. I'm like, oh my God, and then it got shared out, and it just became a thing. And yeah, so I sat at the top tweets of the Reebok deal for like a couple of weeks because of it.
That's
so
cool.
yeah, and it's still cool because now I can call Stitch at any point in time and be like, hey man, what's going on?
Yeah.
Can you come on my show? Can you do this? Can you do that? I got to be one of the pre-readers of his book.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it was very cool.
Yeah, dude, the power of social media, like it can actually create some pretty cool connections with people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of the UFC and the Reebok deal and all that good jazz, I feel like they're like shooting themselves in the foot. You see them and what they're doing, and then, like I look at Bellator,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like Bellator is just doing things so much better. What are your thoughts on like the current situation of like MMA and the UFC in particular? How do you feel about that?
So I do see where the Reebok deal could be okay for some of the younger guys, some of the guys who don't have the sponsor capabilities. But I actually talked to Matt Mitrione about that once, and he said that it wasn't anything against the UFC whenever he moved over to Bellator. He just said the grass was greener.
Yeah.
The money capabilities for people who are on the live television shows is so much better. And Bellator is giving, the outs if you want to go to Ryzen, if you want to go fight someplace else, they're commingling in between.
Right.
And so I think that's kind of where the UFC has had some issues is that they're the big man on campus. No matter what, they're always going to be the New York Yankees MMA.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Will they though? You think?
Absolutely.
I wonder if they'll close. I feel like they're doing so many things wrong.
No, I don't think they will ever. There's too many guys who are too hungry to be in the sport of mixed martial arts at that level.
Yeah.
And so no matter what you do, I think that you'll always have that 1 and 2 between them. I don't think the UFC ever really goes away.
Yeah. I mean, they are the first mover. I mean, so many people will just say like UFC instead of saying MMA.
Right.
I
If
mean,
you
there's
tell
still
somebody if you tell somebody that you were a mixed martial arts fighter, they're like, "Oh, is that the UFC?"
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, until we break that, they probably aren't going away anytime soon.
And I don't think you'll ever break that.
Yeah.
Whenever the casual fan, I mean, I will never forget my mom called me up who wouldn't know an armbar from the corner bar. And she goes, "Did you watch that Conor McGregor fight?" And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God, my mother is talking about Conor McGregor because of the
Yeah,
UFC, and that
dude, he's
was
huge.
oh, but that's the kind of thing that the UFC still has. They
Yeah,
have that power.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I just see what they do with there's essentially like rankings don't matter. There's so
Well,
many
they make up their own.
exactly. Everything's made up and the best people aren't fighting the best people. Fucking there's so many interim belts. It's crazy.
Well, I think the belt thing is kind of silly. I am not a fan of this two weight class champ thing
Yeah,
at all.
they're setting that up with everybody now, right?
Well,
I
of
mean,
course they are. They're now it's all about who's going to be the quote unquote goat.
right.
And I think that that's just it's silly because you're holding up other divisions and guys who really could use who should be in line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just one of those that should Kobe Covington and Tyron Woodley fight? Absolutely they should
Yeah.
because that's the next guy in line.
Yeah.
Let's unify that one. Who is what is this with, why would it even matter if TJ Dillashaw went down to 125 pounds to fight Henry Cejudo? Why?
Yeah.
Other than to kill off the division, which, that it's going to do whatever they're going to do anyway.
Yeah, the division's gone anyway.
That's what everybody says. They were all like in one of the press conferences that, well, we'll see after this fight and all this other kind of stuff. So, and I actually made the comment to TJ, I said, what's it like to be the bad guy? And he said, I'm not the bad guy. I'm here for my legacy. Well, your legacy just got really, really screwed.
Yeah, you just fucked that one up big time.
Absolutely.
Probably cutting too much weight.
Oh, he looked like a long distance runner, just like Cejudo said.
He's a thick kid, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's not he's short, but he has a lot of muscle. He doesn't have a lot of fat on him.
Right.
So that extra 10 pounds to 25, that has to deplete his energy.
Yeah. But it's just one of those things that why keep it up?
Yeah.
Now you've got 145 and 135 in the women's divisions. Where are you going to go with that? You tainted your 145 champ because now the mystique of Cyborg is gone.
Yeah, that was gonna go away eventually anyway. Though.
Well, yeah, but she's a beast.
Yeah,
I've seen her fight live twice.
She's
and
still a beast.
Yeah, she's a beast. Amanda Nunes is a tough one too. But now, so now Amanda Nunes is going to dump the 145 title and go back to 135.
Yeah.
So what's the point?
Yeah, I guess if they're not going to stay at that new weight class,
right?
Or if there's nobody really there to challenge them, what would be the point? DC, he at least relinquished his belt, and he's going to stick at 2 or at heavyweight rather.
Well, that's what he was in the beginning. That's what he was in the Strikeforce days.
Yeah.
And he's always said he never liked to be one to cut weight. So now he doesn't have to.
Yeah, we all know he just doesn't want to fight John Jones again.
Well, absolutely.
I wouldn't want to either, though, to be honest with you. He's already beat him twice. Whether he had something in his system or not is a whole other story. But the guy's just an amazing athlete. I have issues with how much he fucks up, but he's an amazing athlete.
Well, he is. And he's got the genetics behind him. The brothers who are the NFL players. And it's just he is such an incredible athlete that the fact of the drugs and that mystique now, I think, is probably going to kill his legacy quite a bit.
Yeah.
The people who really understand him, that he is such a good athlete. He is so good at this sport. Because he is. He is so good at this sport. And no amount of stuff that you put in your body is going to make you, train like he does as far as the striking techniques and the things that he uses.
Oh, yeah. His creativity, his timing.
Yeah, that doesn't come from steroids, It doesn't at all.
Yeah.
And so, but I still think the average everyday fan is going to be like, yeah, well, he was hot for this or that, and then all the other crazy stuff that he does of, leaving the scenes of accidents.
That's what gets me. I'm just like, man, I can't take this guy anymore. Like, how many bad decisions are you going to make, guy?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, but that was a tangent. The the whole trying to set up these the champ things, like that's getting kind of out of hand. I do agree. I just saw that Tyron Woodley is in camp. He just started camp.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have you worked with him at all?
No. Well, I cornered with him a couple of times back in the old days.
Yeah. I just know he does so much like media nowadays.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I didn't know if maybe like cross paths or not.
I've interviewed him a couple of times. He's been on the show on ESPN. I actually interviewed him at Guns and Hoses when he was he was there. So, but nothing really past that. He's a great guy. He's always been very accommodating. So.
Yeah, I can dig it. Yeah, man. So what's next for you?
So, next is I think that we're going to, probably add a couple more locations here for Shamrock FC. I'm hoping,
Yeah.
do a little road work with them, and now just kind of keep moving forward with that. I really love doing radio again on ESPN with that, with Down Goes Frazier, so that's been
Right.
great. Um, just a lot of things like that kind of keep me moving. I like the weekly grind of coming up with new guests, coming up with new
Yeah.
questions, bringing good content. Bringing something that people want to listen to and something that's new and refreshing. And
Yeah.
so that's always been kind of my thing. And I'm really stoked for what 2019 is going to be, though.
Yeah, yeah. What's your process whenever so like I mean you set up your interviews and like you're going through your questioning. Like do you have a process that you do for this? Like research?
Oh
Like
yeah.
what do you do?
So research for like radio or podcasting and stuff is always I figure out what's going on at the time. Something that's timely.
Yeah.
So like I had Tito Ortiz on 3 days after he beat Chuck Liddell
Yeah.
because that's what somebody wants to know. That was fresh in their mind.
Mhm.
So once we get that, we go back and I'll watch either the fight or something that would kind of lead up to the questioning about what he did. Find out what else they have going on in their background. So
Yeah.
a lot of people don't know Tito Ortiz owns an auto auction.
I had no idea.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you find that information out?
You just kind of got to snoop a little bit. So you become a pretty good detective in this. But
Yeah.
yeah, so we talked, then you find out what they're doing business-wise, if they've got anything coming up that they want to promote. And so
Yeah.
that kind of helps out bringing things around. For a Shamrock show, one television show takes me probably almost 15 to 20 hours to get ready.
Yeah.
And that's like leading up to fight week. We do a couple of different internet-based shows. I do all of the writing about all the athletes on the show. So I ask them questions.
Mhm.
They fill out forms, and then I'll go back and I'll watch some of their fights, and I'll check their records, and I'll see,
Yeah.
well, okay, so if it was a split decision, why? And so I'll go watch those fights. And there's just so much prep time that goes into it. So by the time that the show comes about, there really isn't any guesswork.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be looking things up while you're in the cage. I want to
Yeah.
just sit there, tell the action, tell about the things that I've learned about you in the back that makes you more fan friendly.
Yeah.
My job I look at as part of is to introduce these up and comers to the fans who are watching, because whenever something big happens and it makes it on ESPN or it makes it on Fox Sports and they see these guys who, the double knockout that happened for Shamrock, or
Yeah.
the rise of Johnny Eblin, or these guys like that who now, Johnny signed in Bellator after being with us. Well, every fight thing that they've played, there's something of me talking about them in it, or whenever the double knockout happened. So I want the fans who get to hear that to know something about the fighters. At that point in time, it's not about me. All I'm doing is telling a story of what's going on in the cage.
Yeah.
And so I want them to know anything and everything that will make that fighter either more well-known, more palatable to them, and make them the center of it, make the fight the center of it.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I remember getting that email from Shamrock. It was like a whole list of just different questions. That was you that sent.
yeah. A lot of that info comes to me.
I'm just
so.
like, who the fuck is asking these questions? What is my? I don't even remember what the questions were, but they were like, they weren't your typical questions. It
Right.
was like really like trying to like get to know you and like what your thoughts were and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Yeah, so I know that you have a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background, but then I also know that you are very big into movement and all this other kind of things. And so that was whenever if I was doing you in a fight, that's all the info that I would put together. And so then I would go back and I would watch like your mace workouts to figure out how we could talk about and incorporate that into it.
Yeah.
Talk about the fact that you're a father, all this other kind of stuff that makes you more. You're not just the guy in the cage punching somebody in the face. You're a real person.
Right.
And that's a big thing. So.
Yeah, and you only have so much time to do that.
Right. Especially you guys who finish fights quickly. So.
Yeah, some guys finish pretty quick. That's what she said. I'm immature. I'm sorry.
It happens. It's okay.
So with like all these upcoming shows and whatnot with Down Goes Frazier, do you schedule those guests as well, or who does the scheduling of the guests? Like you do all of that?
I do quite a bit of it. Jason
Yeah.
Frazier and we kind of split the duties as far as who's going to be on. But if it's we'll meet, we'll decide. Okay, This week we're going to have T.J. Dillashaw. Next week we're going to talk to Luis Pena. The week after that we're going to talk to Derek Lewis.
Yeah.
So then we'll schedule those out, and we'll each kind of write our questions, and then we'll present them to each other, so that way we know kind of who's asking, and then we designate who's going to go first, who's going to lead in.
Yeah.
So it's all real kind of choreographed. Coming up, I think we're going to have a couple of different bigger fighters that's coming in. I think we're going to have Amanda Nunes coming up. We've got just a couple lined up in the can that are going to be pretty big fighters. So
yeah, man, it's such a pain in the ass trying to schedule people.
It is. And you will get them that will bail on you, and you will have them that they're like, oh, that was today. And it just it becomes. I've had a couple of them that were like, really?
Yeah.
We talked yesterday.
Dude, I've kicked myself in the ass because I didn't text somebody the day before. I'm just like, ugh. And then I'll be like, hey man, are we still good? And in the next couple hours, I forgot all about that.
Right.
One time I went to Austin. I wasn't going there specifically for the podcast, but I scheduled the podcast while I'm down there.
Mm-hmm.
And the dude was in Washington that day. I'm just like, oh well, I just checked with you on Monday. You could have mentioned this to me before now, I'm down here. And then I rescheduled with him for another time I was in Austin, and he was on the road driving to Dallas to go watch the UFC fights. I'm
Lord.
just like, oh, you're just a dick.
Yeah, that one becomes a tough one.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be overly forward, and I mean down to I've had it with some of the guys who do our lead-up shows for Shamrock where, because we'll do what we call live and uncut, where we get both of the guys together on the screen at the same time, and they can talk to each other. And
smack.
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And I will tell you, I have had everything from guys cutting weight in the sauna, talk to me while they're doing it in the sauna, to one guy who was in a swimming pool, literally in the water with his phone, just doing a Skype interview. And or some that will be like, we're going on in 10 minutes. Like, oh, I forgot. I'm like, I messaged you at noon to tell you it was today. How did you forget? So it becomes a wrangle, but it's one of those kind of behind-the-scenes thing nobody really gets. And if you make it look flawless, nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody knows. It's like a duck on water, right? Just
absolutely.
Working super busy below. And fighters aren't the most organized folks, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, you guys get hit in the head a lot. Let's be honest. So.
Dude, that's why I stopped fighting. I just worry about my brain entirely too much.
Well, no, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, the time comes. Concussions are a real thing. So.
They really are. I don't know how many I've gotten. I don't think I've taken a whole lot of shots. Not like some people. You see some guys, and it's just a shame. The punishment that they've taken in fights, man, it blows me away.
Yeah, I think I've had 6 in judo.
Concussions?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure I've had just so many I haven't counted. I started playing football in 7th grade, so.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's just guaranteed.
Yeah, exactly.
Guaranteed. Dude, I had a question for you in the pipeline, and I forgot it. I don't know, Jeremy.
It happens.
I don't know, buddy. I should write more questions down.
I like the conversational, though.
I try to keep it pretty conversational. I think I'm getting pretty good at just, racking off questions based off what we're talking about. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just awkward silence for the moment, huh?
It happens.
It does happen. Damn, dude. Well, I'm drawing a blank. Let's wrap it up, dude.
All right.
No, let's not do that. Let's not do that. We can. Let me think here. I might just edit this, Jeremy. I don't normally edit them.
Editing's a beautiful thing.
But
everyone does it. Don't let anybody tell you they don't edit.
I know, but we've been doing it's been such a good conversation. It just came to a very natural lull in the conversation, and I'm just not being very quick with my questioning, dude. Let me think here. I probably will edit this.
That's fine.
I don't like that, though. I don't like it. I don't know, man. I'm drawing a blank.
So let me ask you a question then.
Yeah.
All right. So what's coming up for you? I mean, for everyone who knows you, the thing that I've seen lately that really kind of I think is cool is the Mace videos that you're doing.
Yeah.
Your functional movement stuff.
Yeah, doing a lot of functional movement, a lot of unconventional training. So last year I basically just went hot and heavy on like credentialing and like education, just in health and wellness and movement. So I got like my health coach certification and personal training and like my nutrition certification, and then I got two certs for Mace. One from On It, one from a guy named Leo Savage for steel mace flow, and then like the kettlebells. So the plan is just to keep moving forward and build Imposed Will as like an educational platform for like mindset and health and wellness and movement. And then yeah, dude, just coach and teach and podcast and fucking connect with people. I started this podcast so I can connect with people and just like have interesting conversations because I don't ever have time to, or I don't know how many people actually just like sit down and just connect with people uninterrupted.
Right.
So that's why I'm doing this.
So do you miss fighting?
No,
Really?
I don't. I don't.
You're one of the few that I've heard that say they don't.
Yeah, I don't even. I'm almost entirely over like competition, like in sports entirely.
Wow.
Yeah, I was telling my buddy Justin this will probably be my last year, like even competing in like jujitsu even.
Huh.
Yeah, I'm just over it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
to me, the love of competition has never gone away.
No, I still love to compete. But I just don't want to compete in like sports.
I gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's daily competition in business.
Oh, that's a true statement. That is a true statement. But no, I still love the competition, man. I compete in judo still every once in a while.
Yeah.
I'm
You
gonna
mentioned
do.
competing stand up. Is that what you
Oh,
mentioned?
I did a mixed martial arts fight 6 months ago.
Man, I did see that.
Well, because
Jordan-
I kept it real quiet.
Yeah, I think I saw maybe one post. It was like you and Jordan Dowdy
Yep,
and who
it
else?
was me, Jordan Dowdy, and Craig, and Jake Dowdy, Jordan's
Yeah,
brother.
Where
Yeah.
was that at?
Oh God, that was in Columbia, Missouri.
Oh,
And-
dude, who showed? Is that on like a Hewlett card?
Yeah, exactly. And it was funny because like I went down there and I told him, look, I just want to do this. It's kind of a thing. I don't want my name out there. I don't want it that I'm
Yeah.
not playing anything of it. I'm not the Shamrock guy. I'm none of that stuff. And I still, the minute that I walked in, I figured, all right, Columbia, Missouri, there are going to be that many people who know us. You know what I mean? Yeah, that went wrong real fast.
Yeah.
But it was, people were like, oh, what are you doing here? Oh, just here for the fights, blah, 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 blah. And I stayed in the back corner. And then I got my hands wrapped, and somebody goes, oh, my God, are you fighting? And then it became a thing. And then, yeah, they called apparently like two people called Rob, the matchmaker for Shamrock, like, do you know that your announcer's fighting on a card down here? And he's like, what?
No, they didn't even know.
No. Oh, no.
Man.
This was one of those that it was better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I didn't do too bad. The ref stopped it in the end of the second round, but I wasn't bruised up too bad.
Yeah.
I had a little black eye when I was done, but nothing big. It was a lot of fun, so.
Are those 3-minute rounds?
Yeah.
Yeah. How tired were you?
No, I do a ton of cardio.
Yeah.
No, my conditioning was great.
Not even like an adrenaline jump
No,
or nothing, huh?
it didn't. That was the weirdest thing. Like I didn't get overly freaked.
Yeah.
I figured there is nothing that this kid is going to do towards me, who is a kid who was literally half my age,
Yeah.
that Jordan Dowdy didn't hit me with.
True.
I mean, because between him and I was training, like I said, some with Luigi Fioravante at the time, and yeah, there wasn't anything. He just happened to be like 8 inches taller than me, and I couldn't move him. So.
Dang, dude. Yeah, and you are in that environment a lot, right? So I mean that.
Oh yeah,
there
I
has
mean,
to be something to that.
right. If you're around it enough, and I looked at Jake actually goes, it's a glorified sparring match, and I'm like, yep, that's a perfect example of it.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
I've sparred with guys around here locally. I've done, like I said, I've done enough of it that it wasn't just a complete adrenaline, like, oh my God, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I've been in the cage, I've been in around it, I've trained with guys, I've fought anything from stand-up tournaments to grappling tournaments, so it wasn't that big of a leap for me.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah. So the show was a lot bigger than you anticipated.
It was more. It wasn't big. I mean, it was like a VFW hall show. I thought
Yeah.
that was the way to do it.
Yeah.
It was solely for myself. I didn't tell anybody. Literally, no one went. I didn't want anybody there. I just wanted
Yeah.
to do it. And so, this next one, if I do it again, then I may do it closer to home. I don't know. So.
Yeah. You think you might do that one on Shamrock?
No.
No.
No. It'd be too hard to fight first and then go call the rest of the fights. And
That's true
so
because you work all of them. Are they is the XFN series, is that still going? Is that happening anymore?
no.
No more?
Nope,
Okay.
we're back to doing. But the thing is now we are doing the XFN type things
Yeah.
in the cage.
Right.
So now you can do professional kickboxing in the cage.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. We just had Shah Zulfikari taking on Kevin Angle, and I mean
Right.
it was great. It was pro kickboxing in the cage. It was fun to watch. I mean, it's so fast, and
Yeah.
it kind of takes out the whole rope movement, and
Yeah.
a lot of clinch work, and so it was a lot of fun. So there really isn't. So we still add kickboxing now into the shows.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember any of those shows being advertised like as of late.
Yeah, no, haven't
Like
done one of
recent
those
memory, so.
labeled as XFN in quite some time.
Yeah, yeah. Man, yeah, that fight with Kevin and what was the other guy's name?
Shaw.
Shaw.
Yeah, Shah Zulfikari.
That dude's throwing bombs. In
Oh
there,
my
man.
lord! And to be where we were, you can hear every hit.
Yeah.
That's something that I think is kind of lost on the guys in the crowd and the people on television, is because we can hear it.
Yeah.
If they're right in front of us and you hit somebody, my God, we feel it.
Yeah.
You can feel the power that they got cracked with. I sat literally from me to you when Bobby Volker just beat the brakes off of Kyle Kurtz.
Yeah.
And it almost physically hurt to be that close to it, because
Yeah.
it was just shot after shot after shot after shot. And it's some of the most exciting, crazy feelings you'll ever see not being in there.
Yeah, man. People don't know, man, but there's some nasty sounds that come from a landed shot. Like
Oh.
whether it's a shin to the face or a punch or whatever it is, man.
I mean, a good inside leg kick just snaps,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it hurts.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so yeah, it's one of those that the casual fan may never get that, but my God, the ability that you guys have to take a shot and keep moving forward is just incredible.
Yeah, well, the problem is if you don't train it, it goes away.
Yes.
Yeah, man. So many times I know a lot of fighters probably experience this, because if you're not serious about what you're doing, or if you're just not disciplined, a lot of fighters will like get fat in between fights and whatnot. So they'll get out of shape, and they'll make the mistake of like spending the first half of their camp, getting in shape for the fight. That first half, when you're getting in shape, you're also reconditioning your body to start taking shots.
Right.
If you haven't been practicing, and it doesn't feel good.
No, for anyone who hasn't done it, kicking a bag a couple of hundred times to get your shins to feel like dead again is it's terrible.
Yeah, man. So many training camps where I like kicked an elbow, and then you get this deep bruise in your shin, and it feels like you broke your shin. Like it's not broken,
Right.
but it feels like it. And then now you have to go through an entire training camp with this thing.
Oh, or you kick an elbow with the top of your foot.
Oh, yeah.
I did that before this last one and ended up breaking my foot. Actually did break my toe.
Yeah, you will break your foot.
And still did it. And it was just, it was a terrible, terrible feeling, because you could feel it move every time. Yeah, it was just so weird. So.
Yeah, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Nope.
I can remember like, all right, man, my shin's feeling pretty good today. Let me just throw like a leg kick. Boom, land the leg kick. Nope, it's not okay. It's not okay. Yeah, man, that gets brutal. So I don't miss the striking and whatnot. I don't miss that at all. But you mentioned Bobby Volker. Is he still fighting?
Oh, absolutely.
I know he had a win not that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
Is he just content? I mean, you know him pretty well, right? Mm-hmm. I should probably contact him, try to sit down with that guy. He's done so much and been so many places as far as fighting is concerned.
Insane. I mean, from Strikeforce to the UFC, he's got. I mean, his war with Robbie Lawler is still incredible.
Yeah.
Or the one with Patrick Cote. Those fights were just insane to watch.
Yeah.
So
is he pretty content just like fighting at home and selling out those crowds?
He's still he's going for it? He's looking for one more big shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't doubt it that if he keeps going.
Yeah.
That he makes it to a Bellator or back one time in the UFC, that kind of thing. So.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you have to have that goal, right? Otherwise, I mean, I shouldn't downplay people's if they just want to fight, like that's totally cool. If you just want to take a fight, but as many fights as he's actively fighting. I would imagine if you're actively fighting, you have to still have that goal.
Yeah, you
can't just be content with fighting like at home all the time.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that he still genuinely loves it.
Yeah.
He still trains for it. Because I mean, he's good. He's always been good. He's one of those kind of guys who
Yeah.
are he's that old school toughness. Throws the head movement, may
Yeah.
take an ass kick in the first round, but then you're done for in the second.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's coming off a win over Darius Flowers, and that's exactly what he did. Everybody said that this Darius Flowers was going to be the next big thing.
Really.
And Bobby was like, all right, I'll weather the storm in the beginning, and this kid came out and gave it everything.
Yeah.
And Bobby ate some big shots, and second round came along. All of a sudden, here comes the Bobby Volker of old, and it just got done. And I mean, it was a brutal, brutal knockout.
Yeah, that probably those shots probably wake something up in him.
Oh, I have no doubt.
Yeah, that's a different human being, guys like that, and you can't tell it just by looking at them. You know what I mean? Because so Bobby Volker, he's a big dude, but then you have like the Korean Zombie, for example.
Mm-hmm.
These guys they just take shots and they just keep coming, and it almost seems to give them energy.
Yeah, it's really weird to see guys who are like that they want to get hit. Some people need to get hit a couple of times in order just to get their head to really where they are.
Yeah.
And I've talked to guys after the fights, and they were like, yeah, I needed to get cracked once really good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a dangerous game plan, but if that's what you need, I mean, it's what you need. So
it's a crazy strategy.
Some guys they never want to get hit. They don't want to be in that situation. They want to get it to the ground. They want to keep it, keep their opponents tied up. But some guys like to just stand and trade and
yeah. I don't like that. I don't like that. You mentioned concussions. Have you ever been actually knocked out, flash knockout, or anything?
No,
nothing.
I've never been knocked out. In all the times that I have hit my head on the mat or been cracked in the head, I've never been knocked out. Been choked unconscious a lot, but never.
That I have been too.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I've been choked unconscious a lot. Heck, my own kid's done it to me. So yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I think. I haven't looked this up to verify it, but I heard that once you go unconscious, then it's easier to go unconscious again. Like that set point becomes quicker and quicker.
Well, I think that's a lot of what people talk about too. When you get hit on the button so many times that you lose the chin. And look at guys like Vanderlei Silva. They used to be able to just take a complete beating.
Yeah.
And now, you touch him twice. Chuck Liddell, another perfect example. He used to be. But that one shot that I think probably Rampage Jackson laid on him back in the day, and that was, I think, the turning point for guys like that once you get cracked a couple of times, it goes away. And then, I mean, as you get put out, it kind of becomes, all right, I know I've got X amount of time before it happens, and you watch that time just kind of get a little less and a little less.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. Some people are just too tough for their own body.
Absolutely.
I don't recommend people be like that, but you see it, Cain Velasquez.
Mm-hmm.
He was that guy. He was just so tough, and his whole body just broke down. And then Chuck Liddell comes to mind. I heard, who knows what's true or not, but I can only imagine he just blew all of his money. He thought he had a lifetime job with the UFC, and he's taking fights just because he needs the money. But I just heard that he just had some vices.
I have heard the Vice thing. I don't know it for sure.
I mean, I don't know either.
Yeah, but it is what it is.
This is
but
what it is.
Chuck was a smart guy. I mean, he's got a degree in accounting, I think, from Cal Poly.
Yeah, but how long ago was that?
Well, that's true, but
he's probably lost all those brain cells. He's lost them all, my man.
But you got to do something, man.
Yeah.
Especially if you still want to be competitive.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you really do. All right, man. Well, we hit an hour. And
there we go.
I appreciate you being patient with me on this one because I feel like I just fumbled it all, man.
No, not at all.
Anyway, how can folks get a hold of you? I want to give you the floor. You can plug whatever you want to plug, sponsors, anything that you have coming up. How can folks get a hold of you? The floor is yours. You're so good at it.
All right. Well, you can find me on Facebook, and it's Jeremy Johnson, MMA commentator / host. That's my Facebook fan page. I'm on Instagram at Jeremy J MMA, and then on Twitter at MMA Jeremy, and that's where I do all of my social media stuff. And that's where you can find out my sponsors and all the people that make it the ability for me to do what I do. So and I got some good ones, and it's been a great ride. So I
what are those
you.
sponsors, dude? Tell me about.
Oh my God, dude! I've got anything from I have a skincare sponsor called Face and Junk. I have a hair care sponsor called Bucks Burley out of Utah, and they literally give me all of my hair toothpaste and stuff for
Oh,
free,
that's
and
dope.
it's pretty crazy. Yeah, I've got a nutritional sponsor called Drotein, and they
Hmm.
do CBD-based protein.
Okay.
So I got a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Tom
Well,
James Clothing takes care of all my suits, so it really wasn't a shitty Men's Warehouse suit that Brennan Schaub was talking about. So
damn, dude, you do have a lot of sponsors.
yeah,
Let me ask you this question before we go.
uh-huh.
I think it's so important for, well, if a fighter's listening or just anybody who wants to be any sort of like influencer,
Mhm.
like, what would you recommend, or what are some steps that people can take to like go about like getting sponsorships, or like what would you recommend that they do?
So the biggest thing is that you really need to bring something to the table. And when I say that, it doesn't necessarily mean that you've got 1,000 or 5,000 or 25,000 followers. That helps, but you need to have something that's engaging. You have to provide value to the people. And if it's a motivational quote, if it's a practical lesson in business, if it's anything like that, if it's a Mace video that shows how to do certain things. All of that stuff leads to people getting value from what you bring. And sponsors are looking for someone who can provide value to their customer base. So like my company War Tape that sponsors me. So I get all of the stuff to wrap hands as a cut man for free.
Mm-hmm.
And so literally there were times that I would do videos of me wrapping hands online, or I would do how to do X and Y, and it just became a great partnership. The skincare guys, it was all because they saw me on TV and everybody talked about how young I looked, and so that was where that came from. The hair one is if anybody around St. Louis MMA knows, the jokes about the hair thing has been around
It's
forever.
gorgeous hair, man.
Well, and the funny thing is I didn't start that. I wasn't involved, and actually there was a potential lawsuit that even happened about that once. So,
Really?
yeah.
Oh man.
It was pretty funny, but that's kind of thing is it's just how do you become the person that people will go to for a specific thing
Yeah.
and to be trusted. So I don't use anything and I don't endorse anything that I wouldn't really use.
Yeah.
If I say that I like it, I really do. If I say something does something, it does. Down to literally my clothing sponsor, Tom James. They'll come meet me. They'll come meet the guys that I've introduced them to. And I mean, they do tons of people. They do, Tyron Woodley and a bunch of other guys too. So, you've got to provide value to your people, know your numbers, and make sure that you're always engaging with people.
Yeah.
And that's big. So,
Yeah, that engagement piece is really important. Like, I mean, consistency is key.
yes.
Do you recommend people like put together like a sales deck, or should they just slide into a company's DMs?
I personally have an info sheet on me.
Yeah.
And here is what I do, here's where I can be seen, here's where I can be heard, here's what I can do for your company.
Yeah.
Because at that point in time you kind of become a walking billboard as a fighter.
Yeah.
But that's how you make, a good portion of your money when you fight is through that.
Uh-huh.
And so you want to maintain those relationships and make sure that the company that backs you gets a value out of you.
Yeah.
So I make sure that I get promo codes for all of my companies that they know that they're making money off of me.
Mm-hmm.
Or, for my suit guy, I'm like, hey, here's an intro, here's this, here's that. And he's like, great, perfect, let's keep going.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really big that route.
Yeah, just always trying to provide value in any way that you can.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people probably feel like you have to have 50,000 followers for people to support you.
Yeah, and in our genre, I mean, it's such a niche market that, I mean, there are guys out there, but even some of the bigger ones you see will have, 25, 50,000 followers. And so even if you've got 5 or 10, I mean, I think I've only got like 15, 20 across all social media.
Yeah.
But I still have enough sponsors that, I don't have to pay for a whole lot of what I ever use, and you get some paychecks on occasion, so it's not too bad. So.
Right. Yeah, it's not necessarily about like having like a whole bunch, like getting big paychecks from them, but I mean, you mentioned like getting product,
right?
And maybe a little bit of paycheck.
Absolutely.
There, but
I do get those, so it's not too bad. But yeah.
Good stuff. Hey, man, I appreciate that advice. More so for myself too, but for anybody listening, that was always a huge struggle. Like as a fighter, you're so focused on training, you don't ever want to like try to get sponsors, and then unless you want to go get like a manager to do that for you, and then you got to like split the money. And
yeah, it's a tough one. It really is, and the sponsor thing is a tough one nowadays too, because there's so many out there trying to get them, and they all what can you bring them? And that's always been my thing is what can I do for them? It's not what can they do for me.
Yeah, 100%. Awesome. Hey, dude, thank you so much.
Thank you for having
All
me.
right, everybody, until next time.